Okay, just to remind myself, I've got a nice watt meter now, and I'm checking. This is only warm. Wow. I'm checking to see where the exact bevel mesh is. Now I have the height a little bit lower than I'm used to shimming. I mean, it's like maybe a quarter turn lower than I'm used to shimming. Okay, so I'm checking the inside here, and I want to show what it looks like as far as for remembering for myself too. Let's see if I can zoom in here, get a really good shot of it. I don't know if I can see that with the camera. I need to be able to see it myself, so let me tilt the camera a little bit. Okay, the screwdriver does, if I can get it in there, shit. I can't see anything, this light is just a pain in the ass. Okay, so right now the gap is like this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this on camera. Anyways, for my reference, it's a little bit in like that. Alright, now I'm going to try going backwards a little bit more. This is half a turn backwards. We're going to check and see what we get on the read. Damn it. I love kicking cameras and bipods. From what I see, the amperage seems to go up. At this point it must be working harder to turn the gear, so go up half a turn, or quarter turn, excuse me. And the amperage went actually down, so we're going to go up another quarter of a turn where it was at. Almost get 3 as the amperage. So at this point, this is where the pistol grip is. Make sure I can see what I'm doing right here. And the amount of play with the screwdriver feels like maybe it moves, I don't know how to say that, maybe 0.2 millimeters, I'm guessing. I don't know how to best say it, but there's just the slightest amount of left to right, so or teeth to teeth, I guess you gotta say, because left to right makes it sound like it's going back and forth in gearbox. I'm not too happy with the sound. It is definitely shimmed correctly. I mean, I checked more than once, many times. I also checked to make sure that the bevel came down on the pinion just right. I did both a level test and the screwdriver test. From this point, if I was to open up the pistol grip and show you where the bevel and pinion is, especially because what I did is I cut a hole right here in the side of the gearbox, and I had the pistol grip to the gearbox, and I had also measured the gap in here so that I would copy the exact thing if it was in the body. So I put those two together. I looked through the peephole here that I created, and what I could see is the pinion is a little bit taller than the bevel's teeth, so I would only go up so high to the point that the back end, the edges, would not mesh to, because it wasn't necessary. It does probably go a little bit lower now, probably, because if I remember correctly, I went maybe a half a turn from, see what I see here, a half a turn down. So that's got to be a little bit lower. Now, if I was to put a 0.1 millimeter on that, it would be way too tight at the mark that I had. So what that meant was that I was really close to the mesh already. So as far as it's not sounding good, yeah, it's got some power, but it doesn't seem to have power like, this is a Lonex Titan A2. This doesn't seem to have power like my my Satan. It'd be like right here, and it's all just take it from me. So looking at this test, clearly where I would shim it is a tad bit too tight, but according to this, it's not in the right spot. I'm going a quarter turn too tight. Now, from my experience, usually when I put the spring and everything in and I go to shoot the gun, the rate of fire is a little bit slow, and I tighten just a quarter turn to half a turn, and the thing starts shooting even faster. Because it's a little bit closer, and that torque of the spring is a little bit harder to pull. So we're probably going to have to do another test simply just to see. But that really nasty noise to me is the bushings. God, the gear is just riding on some shitty bushings. They're VFC bushings, and it does not sound so great. Bearings by far sound way better just because of the spin. Plus, it's a little bit different on this motor. It seems to take a little bit longer to stop. My GMP M180, oh my god, you push it, boom, stops almost instantly. That's even without active braking. It doesn't have as fast of a trigger response. The Satan is just unreal with trigger response. Now see, that's not touching right there. So if I touch now, it still doesn't seem to have that same trigger response. But I'll tell you though, the Satan, I'm pretty sure, gets a little bit hotter than this. This feels really efficient, and I have to agree that I would probably give this a big thumbs up for this motor. And from what I can tell, even though it doesn't seem to have the power and maybe quite the speed of the Satan, it definitely seems to have better efficiency, and both being the fact that it seems to use the amps a little bit less, but also the grip here is just like not even close to hot. I mean, if I over shim, let's say if I put this a little tighter, the amperage will go up. And if I was to over shim it in the Satan like this, if I was to motor height it up and do that, it would get extremely hot. Just because the fast rate that's going, plus it doesn't seem to be nearly as efficient as this Lonex. So I might actually buy a second one of these to put in the DSG instead of the M180 Satan, just for that purpose. But yeah, this seems to be going pretty well for the test. And see if I can get this on camera. I'm gonna go ahead and go up one more quarter of inch and shoot again. See, as I do that, I'm getting 325, 315, 325 on the amperage. So what that means is it's getting, that is the amperage I'm reading, right? Yeah. That is getting too high. So I go back down, then this would be the perfect spot right there. So This old mark was from a long time ago when we had a different motor, different bevel. I've got a new bevel in here and a new motor in here, so it's not nearly the same. But yeah, this even though it is warm, I can grip this, no problem. Okay, if I over shim the Satan, it's going to be a total different thing. So for my test, again, see if we can get this on camera. And maybe have to get a light a little bit better. It's just the way I can't get down in there to see it. Maybe if I zoom in and I start really far away. Okay, so there, I can see the gear now. And get in there. My hand is in the way is the other problem. Let's see if I can do this. I'm just trying to, it's the best way. It's hard for me to watch the camera and watch what I'm doing at the same time. Now that's how much movement there is. I'm going to check the camera and see what I got. But from looking at this, yeah, I definitely have to say it is pretty awesome comparing so far. We're going to have to get this all hooked up and see what the end result will be. So go ahead and just pull off the battery here. Now, some of you guys might be wondering why I'm running two fuses, just in case something was with the battery, even though the chances of that are pretty much it's going to set itself off. But I paid $50 for this, and at the same time this already had a fuse. So the fuse was normally for the back here, but I'm not going to need to use it anymore. So technically, usually your shorts are going to end up in this side, but I know this gun's perfect because even this motor plate and the Lonex fit perfectly without causing a short. No dremeling there. No, I did put a heat shrink inside the gearbox area so nothing get clipped and anything like that. So we'll go ahead and end off on that for right now. Just in case somebody does want to question the way I shim the bevel and the pinion, here is a great example of there is no marking really. If we even get a close-up of this thing, the only thing you're going to see is the bevel trying to match the teeth. Now the teeth, see, get a little bit more close-up. See, you can see what I was talking about, how there's a barely tiny marking. Quiet, dog. So the marking that isn't marked in the back is where the bevel is not really touching. The teeth on the bevel are very tiny compared to this motor. But you can see, I'm going to pull out the bevel and show this exactly. There's tiny marking here, meaning that's where the teeth are touching. Now there was no grease in the test, and there's no grease now because I haven't finished exactly putting the gun together. But what you can see is the bevel is, or the pinion is trying to shape itself like the bevel. Quiet! Quiet! So also to note, the Satan M180 was very hard to turn. I mean, very hard to turn. This is very easy to turn. Okay, so getting a look at it from this point of view, you can really see it's in absolutely great condition. It's just the way, it's pretty much brand new still. There's barely any marking on the pinion. Quiet! So let's go ahead and get the bevel out and show that too. I really do like this motor, and it came in a nice packaging, so it just looks really awesome. Okay, so here's the bushings, excuse me, and there is a 0.1. It's actually a 0.07, excuse me. Yeah, it is 0.07 because it's not 0.1. I keep thinking I'm saying it wrong, but then I'm not. Red thread lock there, so this is kind of flush, and you can see they just, you get the gear over here, put this back on top. So G&G bevel, it's not this combat machine type, it's the GR16 original, so it's a really nice bevel. So let's go ahead and pull this off and try to leave the shims on here. And like I said, there wasn't really much room. Hold on, the shims are about to fall off, and I do not want that to happen. No, you don't. Because I have you perfectly shimmed, so I'm not messing with that. Okay, so what I was talking about is you put this gear down, making sure not to lose shims, and you put this motor here, and you can see that the teeth on this bevel, they're kind of straight, but they angle a little bit at the tip. So you can see right, excuse me, focus again. You can see it right there. Maybe I should show with a screwdriver or some kind of tool. Right here, going all the way around. It's not straight. It like loops down. So instead of going straight across, I don't mean like across to the middle area of the bevel, but I mean like instead of being straight, the last tip loops down. So I'm not sure if you can see that as well as I can, but it's definitely back at here. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. It loops down, the teeth do. So so when I mesh this thing, I actually have it kind of like this. Is kind of hard to show here. Kind of had it like this, and you can kind of see that in the markings. Let's see. And the reason for that is because, like I said, the edges of this, it doesn't need to go upwards past, and then the edges are poking on it. Does that make sense? I want the edge a little bit out so it's not poking on it. Alright, so basically that's how it goes, and that's why this is bending a little bit, because this is straight and that is not. It's just a part of what you deal with when you go off brands too. This is a Lonex Pinion, and that's a G&G bevel. So the G&G bevel, the bevel to pinion, and their pinion is a little bit fatter and not as tall, and that's probably why it helps to not make the same markings as this, but it's just what it is. Okay, so set this aside. And the next thing I'm working on right now is I just short stroked the let's go ahead and get this off. I don't want to lose this, and put this on the bottom here. Okay. Something's not right here. Wow, that is not right. The bushing right here has come up, and that could have been more result of the power that the Lonex was pushing that bevel at, and started to try to pull it closer, and the amperage was going up because it's getting a little tighter for this type of reason here. So this needs to actually be flushed back in, so I got to pull that out and red light. It looks like the red has come out. Red thread lock it. See, I don't know. Probably because that bevel is spinning so freaking fast by itself without. So I'll go ahead and fix that. But what I was going to show here is the short stroke that I just did. I took off 2 teeth here, and I just put on an SHS delay clip, and I was checking to see how it works. The best way is to close the gearbox and hook up the gears and rotate the bevel and watch the resistance. I don't see any resistance here because, see, if you look here, the delay does not hit into the tip or the top of the tappet plate, so I don't have to worry about that. So it's going to pull back here. That would be the point that it's pulling back. So everything's looking good, and then as it gets here, it's going to go forward a little bit, and then here it's going to go forward all the way right here. And that's right when the last tooth about comes off. But according to mine, because, or my setup here now, is because that tooth has been kicked off, so we need to check it. Let's go ahead and pull this out. And if you guys are wondering, there is sorbo on the cylinder head to correct angle of engagement. So okay, we'll pull this back. I have dremeled on the tooth a little bit there. It does come out great. So we're going to go ahead and go here. And those two teeth can be dremeled off. Okay, so from here, it's going to be right there. It's going to be pretty much lift off. If you're wondering what these marks are on the teeth here, there's some markings you can see on the rail. It's because the previous bevel shaft had broken, and the sector decided to make its way around. But the shaft broke probably because of a jam. I'm not 100% sure, because it was jammed. So let's go ahead and check it the way I normally check it. Alright, so you need to put the tappet plate. You know what, let's just go ahead and put on the cylinder too. Let me put the camera down for a second. Cylinder in. Cylinder and tappet plate in. And the piston's falling back a little bit. Okay, here we go. Now, just to say so, the pickup tooth was a little too much touching when I did my test with rotating the sector, and it created resistance holding the sector down. Now, I've previously dremeled and shaved that pickup tooth, so that doesn't happen again, and we can kind of see that the hand is creating shadow, so I'm trying to, and the camera, so I'm trying to get away from the shadow just to show how close that is. You can see right here how close it is, but when it's closed it pulls it up a little bit like this, so we should be okay, and I can check that again. Alright, so as we rotate the sector, pulling back right here, I'm trying to make sure we've got it, grabbing the okay, good. So the cylinder head's not in, so the angle engagement isn't looking correct right now, but it will be when it's all in there. So we pull this back. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. Okay, so we pull this back. Come on. About right here is when it starts to move forward. Still kicking back. Right here it's getting closer. Right there is practically all the way forward. So before tooth release, it is practical all the way forward. That is good. That means the test will definitely... I knew it was going to be good already, but I always check things. Okay, so go ahead and turn, and then it will go bam. So that will work out perfect from what I see here. So I guess I'm going to use that delay. This will be the first time I use that. I've had a couple of these, but just never used them. Just basically, I'm not spending any more money on builds like this. I'm just putting a bunch of spare parts together and then making sure they all mesh and everything goes good. Especially like the that's a G&G trigger mech, I guess you could say. Trigger box contacts. These are the contacts, but this is the trolley, and this is I just forget my words. The housing for the contacts. And I had to get a special screw and shave that down, and then shave this down so that it didn't rub up against it. So I've done numerous little things here and there. Here's my peephole right here before I put the wiring back in, and you can see that I left it just right. Just basically showing everything's going good. I did dremel back here a little bit so the wires don't get pinched. There's no pinching here. It looks like it's pinching, but really the only thing it's pinching is the heat shrink. Heat shrinks there because sometimes these are a little bit sharp, and you could kind of file it out, but I always be on the careful side and just put heat shrink in the way. It's never an issue when I do that, so that's why I do it that way. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out and clean it out and then put it back down in there. And if that happens to come out again, I don't know what to say, man. I'm using red Loctite, so it just seems to be that motor really tried to pull it out, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go for now. Okay, I put the bushing back in and thread locked it, and then I checked again to make sure that there was no changes in the bevel and pinion, which there haven't been. I did shim this and this, so they're ready to drop in, but I'm probably going to wait about 24 hours, let that thread lock get more permanent, and then we'll know what the real test will be with the spring in. So we do have it at the same motor height, and I checked again with the screwdriver, so it means it should be perfect when we go to test it. Alright, so the gears are shimmed perfectly. I'm doing my second test with the piston, and for some reason, I don't know why, but my test earlier with that other gear, the piston could go back and forth with the rails correctly and smoothly, but now it seems like it's stiff, which is kind of strange. Yeah, that shouldn't be happening. So what I think I'm going to do is, instead of modifying the rails, I'm going to switch the piston, probably to a GMP white. I'm trying to see here. Probably had something to do with when the piston got a little bit messed up, because it used to glide cleanly through. So I'm going to go ahead and switch them out real quick. Okay, so quickly discovered, I was pretty sure the only thing different was the gear. It goes back and forth easily now, but that's because the sector gear is not in there. The teeth of the piston are hitting the top of the sector gear, and this was very frustrating the first time I had worked on this gun, because I had to modify this pickup tooth because it was way too deep and it hit into the old sector, and now all these teeth here are hitting into the gear like this, just right in the top. So I need to either grind all those down or switch the piston out. And I think a better suggestion would be to take the piston out. So I'm going to take that to the side, put this gear back in. And now put in a GMP white piston, because I really have no other choice. Or put in some other kind of piston. So let's go over here to the pistons. Let's see here if I can find the tip to it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Alright, so put this down. Gonna need a piston head, and oh man, I guess that'd be in here. What spares do I have left? Looks like a stock one. That would be horrible. Here's a garter stock. I don't think I have any metals left. I would rather prefer to have metal. There's a lot of piston heads in there, but they're all stock stuff. And garter. And that's it. So I'm going to have to use garter, it looks like. I'm not going to take off that nice piston head off that one. I'm just going to leave that on. Alright, since this has the Lonex in there, I'm not going to put any ball bearings, because the spring in the back is going to have ball bearings. Just to double check, it does. So let's go ahead and get this. So here's that. Here's that.
Smith & Wesson 686 with a 2-pound trigger bolt. Standard police issue.
Yeah, maybe I'll use a one metal washer. We'll check and see. Alright, so first things first. Pop this on. Let's go ahead and get this together, and then I'll do a little test. Well, yet another problem. The piston head protrudes in, and this protrudes out, either of these, so they're gonna have to be dremeled to fit. How cruddy is that? Maybe I can get away with doing them backwards. I don't know. I really don't know at this point. I really get sick and tired of this, because every time I turn around I've got to do some kind of modification to make something work spec-wise. Yeah, I think I'm just going to cheat this and dremel a small section for this to fit in backwards. I think that's what I'm going to do. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just screw it on. Let's go ahead and see what happens if I screw it on. Okay, so I ran a test. I rotated. There's barely any resistance to get back all the way. There's no resistance going forward. The piston will move flushly. However, I do not feel comfortable with the setup, so what I did was I used one of these, flipped it upside down, or backwards I guess, and screwed the piston head on inside. So even though it works, I believe the threads that are screwed on are very small amount. So what I'm going to do is take it out and dremel off a small section so that it actually has more threads going on that piston head, so it has a higher chance of not failing. Other than that, everything's looking good so far, so we're going to go ahead and get that closer to being done so I can run my tests that I want to. Alright, so I have shaved down the third tooth here. Second was already pre-removed. It's ready pretty much to go. I checked everything, so I'm going to go ahead and put everything together, grease it up, and then I guess go on to the test. This does go through smoothly, the gears rotate smoothly, so everything should be good to go. I checked the anti-wrist latch, I did check the tappet plate, so there is really nothing else to check. I already know the cylinder head and the air nozzle. I checked compression on these two right here. And I know previously the compression was really good before, so everything should be good to go. I guess we'll get it ready and we'll be done. Okay, I applied the grease with gloves on, and then threw those away. They're just disposable, so that's all good to go. And now I'm going to apply some to this. I don't usually put some on the rail because I don't like when the stuff gets all greased up into the cylinder. But what I'm going to use is this bearing grease that I really like. Excuse me, cylinder grease. The other stuff is bearing grease. So I'm going to put this in and close it up and test it out. Everything seems to be going good. I put the spring in this, checked the angle of engagement with that, so everything is going good. Should be done. Ready to go. Alright, so here we go with the test. This is the new Luna from my friend Chris. It's got 30 amp fuse on the inside. Fixed stock. I didn't have one of these pieces, so I added actually dremel piece for it. It does have a GMP metal hump up inside. I'll show. And it's solid now. It doesn't really move, so it's a lot easier to put the mag in. It used to be a plastic one. It was a garter one, and it would allow too much of this kind of movement, so when you pop up a magazine, it actually broke the feeding in here and started jamming some BBs inside, and that's how the gun broke. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a test, and I'm reading on, see if I can get this over here. This is test with let me turn the gun around actually so we can see the numbers a little bit better. Alright, so I've got 12.57 volts. Let's turn the light on and get an adjusting screwdriver. Okay, I got my adjustment screwdriver. Alright, now I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're just going to go right over to semi. This is without pre-adjusting the motor. This should be at the exact same spot. Let's see what that reads. That sounds like it's too low. I'm getting about 660, 6.90. Now for me, I'm going to go up a little bit. Sounds like it might be struggling a little bit. Just half turn up. Wow, that sounds really windy now. We're going to go down. Yeah, we're going to go down because that was about 7. Alright, according to my test, this still proves to go back to the same position. Let's just go a quarter down back. Okay, quarter down back. That uses less. So far, the best test was putting it exactly where it was. Where I had it, right here. Sounds so freaking loud. I know this spring is rated, it's got to be doing at least 420 FPS, but it's short stroked, and I think it's an M150 plus ported, so it sounds loud when it hits. It's got a nice, quick response. I'm just checking amperage, and I'm getting like 21 was the highest I saw. Here, I'll show you the numbers. See if we can see that a little bit. Now, dude, the grip feels not even warm. I haven't felt anything yet. And that's quite a bit of shooting I've already done with Semi 2. I felt nothing. There's absolutely nothing. That must mean that it's at the proper motor height exactly. According to this, the highest amperage we get up is to about 21, 25. So 30 should be good to go. Even when I was holding it down, it was staying at 21. See, I'll hold it down again just to show on the test. It's not getting up to 30. Wow, this is gonna be a pretty beastie gun now. I mean, you can just hear it's well tuned. It's well tuned. Wow. So every time I was teching a gun, I've only had it a quarter turn higher. I can't believe that I was actually that close to being on the spot. I guess you just get kind of lucky sometimes, but I'd been shimming every gun like that. Okay, I guess the next thing to do is chrono it. I wonder what the rate of fire is. Could just do some Odyssey, but I'm gonna hook this thing up for real. Do a real thing. Okay, so go ahead and hook the battery here. We're gonna put it in here and go shoot. Use a chrono. This thing sounds nice. I bet you even with a MOSFET it would sound even nicer. It doesn't even have a MOSFET, so if I hook this up with a MOSFET, woo. We just haven't spent any extra money yet to put a MOSFET in it. That's the only thing we need to do. Yeah, the pistol grip is like barely warm right now. I mean, you can barely feel it. This thing's gonna be nice. It just goes to show. I mean, usually the pistol grip on some of the good motors for me, they get a little bit warm, but that might be because what I was saying, I was a quarter turn too tight. But with that thing, man, I like having that watt meter. Make sure that your tests are perfect. Alright, so we got the LiPo inside, and I'm going to go chrono this thing with my Mad Bull. I got to make sure that I hate these combat machines. I don't know why, but for some reason, right here is where the magazine will like not feed up correctly. Watch, I'll go grab a mag real quick, just to show. Alright, so here's a Lonex mag that I just fixed, supposedly. I haven't really tested, but supposedly I fixed. So go ahead and put this in. See, it just goes in nice and snug now. But there's still movement because, I don't know why, the GR16s don't have it. Only the CM16s I know that the magazine needs to go this way to feed properly. So maybe instead of being cheap, because I really don't like using tape, electrical tape here, maybe I'll put some JB Weld and leave the gun like this, and then that way when you slide this in, because I can dremel it and stuff too, and when you slide it in, it will go in a little bit tighter, but it'll hold to feed the BBs up. Yeah, this gun looks pretty beastie like this now. And you can see the rail, I put it on there very straight. I mean, I was dead on straight. So, yeah, I think this thing is going to be a force to reckon with. Especially since that grip doesn't have anything. Wow, okay. Let's chronograph. Well, I was going to chronograph, but then I went in the garage and forgot that there was a bunch of stuff in there I'm giving away to a friend, and I don't want any of that things getting broken. There's not very much room to shoot in this area of where I live. We've got a pool and stuff, so I don't think my mom would be very happy if I put things out there. So from what I could tell, this will have to be chronoed another day, but I know it's shooting really hot. 400 plus because it had before. Thing to say about it, I just noticed that on the floor here there was little pieces of sorbo that must have been flying out of the barrel. I've never really seen that before. It must be hitting really hard. Yeah, they were on the floor, so I mean tiny little pieces. Here's an example right here. Sorbo falling apart or what? It's exactly what it was like. It's a little black. See this little black foam? It's rubber. So yeah, I don't know. But it definitely has to be in there because the angle engagement was terrible. I'm not sure why it was so bad. Maybe because it's such a different brand. That or I have to put a huge plastic spacer for the head, the piston head. Might resort to that if this stuff keeps coming out on the ground like that. I mean, gun sounds amazing. I don't see any more of that stuff. I picked up three pieces of it, and well, actually, see if you look around, you can find more of it. It's really tiny, but I mean, it's got to be coming off somewhere on that thing. As long as it doesn't push the piston in a way that it doesn't allow it to engage very well and then eat the teeth, because it can't go all the way forward, or, well, yeah, it can't go all the way forward, I guess I would say the best. But yeah, from what I can tell, That's really awkward. Well, guys, go ahead and give me some comments, questions, anything. When I get a chance to chrono this, I will post up the feet per second, and Odyssey could easily just tell what the rate of fire was. That whine started to go away towards the end of the video, I'm pretty sure, because it did from my end. I could barely hear the whine anymore. And what I think that is the I know the Bevel and Pinion in the previous test, when I would shoot it the 2, you couldn't really hear whine because it's just the Bevel and Pinion. But what I showed in the video is they didn't mesh exactly correctly, so there was going to be some kind of whine until I think you break in the motor's pinion at least. With the bevel, they're going to mesh a little bit better, and that's what, towards the end of the video, when you hear it shooting, the whine started to go away. Simply that. I'm going to re-watch it just because, for me, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like it was gone. But I'm going to re-watch in the video and make sure, because sometimes you're thinking that and you don't really realize it. So, so Chris, this is what your gun is for now. The new Luna. It's pretty beastie. I spent probably 2 hours on the shimming. It took a special. I almost decided to dremel one of the gears a little bit near the teeth area because I thought there might not be enough room, but I just made sure, kept spinning time and time and time until it was really good shimmed, and then motor height was at the exact spot it's supposed to be. Yeah, pretty much everything. I mean, you could tell from the video that the gun is functioning great, other than not being able to do a real shooting test. But the gearbox sounds great. So I'm going to go ahead and go out. Again, you guys have any questions, comments, just pass them on to me. If you want to know what this is called a watt meter. It's by Watts Up, WATT''S up, 2 different words. You'll get it without the Deans, and I Deansed it. Just for future reference, source actually has an external plug. You can plug in here for power, or you can use this for power. Now, since this is 50 bucks, you may want to put a fuse on it for sure, because you don't want to break this. They don't offer any protection. I was reading the book. So yeah, you could break that. Other than that, any more questions or comments, this end is for your motor. So I haven't tested this with the DSG, but I will pretty soon. So that'll be very interesting to see the Satan, see difference with the Satan. What are you producing, Satan? I'm thinking the amperage is double that. That's what I'm thinking. But it could be slightly tight according to this test. My motor was up from a quarter of an inch, or excuse me, well, I keep saying quarter. It's half from what I remember. Well, at least from what I remember, it was half a turn. Let's see, we'll zoom up here. It is half a turn. So, I mean, still, I was pretty close to spot on. But it's nice to have this, because this tells you where that sweep point is supposed to be. It's hard enough to not be able to do it. Like, let's say your bevel and pinion are really not meshing good together, and in the video, the beginning of the shooting, it really sounded a little bit more windy until it started coming down. But definitely, without this tool, I would say you can't be 100%, hey, I've got it perfect. Like, I can hand this to somebody and say, you know, not only does it show it in the video, but my tool is telling me it's perfect. And you can hear it's obviously shooting really fast. Those are stock gears, so I'm not expecting something outrageous. You need to lower the bevel gear a little bit so we can get some more shots out faster. But yeah, if we're going to spend some money on this, we could make this a little bit more of a badass, but it's just haven't spent any real money on there. So the luna's kind of coming off. But anyways, I'm gonna go, guys. I'm a little exhausted, not from this build, just in general, working quite often. So, alright, I'll catch you later. Hit you with a fist.